people were forced by the government to go to boarding school, not by their mom. um, um, yeah, and there's a lot of people alive today that still have issues from those boarding school periods.
You know, when you're with your family and then you hear them talk about stuff, or I don't know, I guess that's kind of like another thing too, because you know, with our elders and our grandparents, like, they don't talk about it. They were taught not to talk about it because they grew in that time period with boarding schools, so you don't hear much about it.
And once I got into Fort Pitt Community College, I learned about Native American studies, like the histories. We read deeper into it, and it made more sense. And it feels like Native genocide is like really covered up and looked past in public schools. They don't never teach us about, never hear that word genocide. They just tell us about small things that have happened.
I always think this one's kind of ironic and funny because, you know, people that are non-natives that I've seen like to view it as, well, you're not still living in a teepee. You're not riding a horse. You're not, you know, living in leather and going out hunting and fishing all the time. And, you know, I always think it's kind of oblivious of them for them to view it that way, because you can see right here through the time periods of why we don't have that anymore and why we're not living that way anymore. And it comes back to that, like, our people have went through these different time periods of basically being broken down and having it stripped away, and basically being told that they need to be more like them. You know, at the time, the Europeans or whatever, we needed to be more like them. And so I think this one always will always be the one that I think of when people, you know, well, why aren't you still living in a teepee? Well, you know, it's kind of funny because we were forced out of teepees. So I think that's where I think of this one the most. We didn't choose to have it that way. We didn't choose, oh, we want to be like you guys, you know, oh, we're gonna change, we're gonna throw away our language, we're gonna throw away everything we've known and learned about this earth, because we want to be like you guys.
My grandma went to a boarding school, and she's getting retribution from that, but she was told not to speak her language and all that stuff, but she still knows it. And when I was living with her, she tried to get me to speak it, and she had me going for a while. But I moved down here, and nobody really talks it down here probably because of that same reason. They were told it was bad and that it's not, even though it saved this country, you know, for being or losing that war. Just a lot about what the federal policies are on natives. Like, they have to prove that they're so much Indian before they could actually be enrolled. And even though natives looked at it as if you live there and you practice their ways, then you're a member, regardless of race, color, you know, all that good stuff. But yeah, that's something that I guess could be looked at. But just basic things like that are kind of controlling everyday lives of Indian people, even if they're off the reservation.
Just seeing all of these policies just like feels owned or something. Like, we've just been these people that they push aside to different places, or yeah, that's like, we got pushed into treaties, we got pushed into the allotments, our children got pushed into the boarding schools, and then we got pushed into being tribal reorganizations. Like, just looking at those, I mean, because I know what all of these policies stand for and what happened during them. And to look at the timeline is just that makes me feel owned. I mean, it started out with pretty much internment camps that turned into what they are now. And with the CBID, I just feel like they just want to kill us off after a while, but that's just my personal. It's just sad to see the timeline after I looked at it. It's like, oh, that's what that is.
Well, like when I was talking about like, you know, like blood quantum and stuff, that was part of the termination thing, because they're like, the government was like, oh, well, you know, we can't clearly, you know, massacring these people is not working, like they're still here, so we're gonna set up this like blood quantum law, and then you know, they're gonna keep multiplying and stuff, and pretty soon they won't be federally recognized as Native Americans because, you know, their blood quantum is gonna be like diminished, and that's like part of the termination thing. Like, I guess just what happened to Native American people, like it does carry on from family to family, person to person.